As we enter into this second week of Advent, we're greeted by the prophet Isaiah, who cries out, "Comfort, comfort my people." Certainly these are words of great importance and great hope for us as we live through this very challenging time of the coronavirus. Some years ago, friends gave me a little book. It was called Random Acts of Kindness. It's one of those little books sometime you buy at the cashier counter of a bookstore. It was a wonderful little book filled with all kinds of vignettes of people doing kind things for others, mostly strangers. And as I read through these stories, I thought, these are wonderful people. These are saintly people. And then I thought, these are things we all can do. We all can do these very, very same things. We can give someone a smile. We can give someone a supportive nod across the desk when they seem to need it. And it doesn't even cost us anything. All we have to do is to be awake to what would be the needs of others and what they would desire most at that time. How we all can be kind and mindful of each other. Sometimes when I read something from Pope Francis, I feel like saying to him, you don't have to write anything about kindness. You are kindness personified, and your life speaks volumes. Every once in a while, almost miraculously, he says, someone comes along and does a good deed for us and helps us at just the right time. Usually we speak of these things as, and just by chance, someone came along. But I don't think that it really is so much by chance. I think it's by the benevolence of God, who loves us very much, knows our wants, knows our desires. And he sends one of his sisters, one of his daughters, one of his brothers, one of his sons to come and to bestow his blessing on that person who has a need at that particular time. The season of Advent is a time that we usually spend preparing for the coming of the Lord, preparing for that time where we remember how Jesus Christ came and dwelt among us. Maybe this Advent we could take just a little bit of a turn on that and think that this Advent is a time when I want the Lord in my life to come and take over my life. I want him to take the reins in my life. I want him to use me to bring his blessing to others. If we would look at this as a way of thinking for Advent, we don't have to worry about it anymore. We don't have to think further about it. How will I do this? How will I do it? All we have to do right now is to desire this, and God will do the rest. God will send that opportunity to us. Not too long ago, I visited a young man in the hospital down in shock trauma. And he had been badly assaulted, almost killed by people. He didn't know them. And as I was leaving, he asked me just to stay for a little while longer. I thought he wanted to chat a little bit more and wanted to talk about some things, maybe even pray more. But then his mom handed me a paper, and there was a name written on it, written in pencil. He said, "This is the man who almost killed me." And he says, "Before you leave, I'd like to ask you to offer a blessing for him. And I'd like all of us to say a prayer for him." He said, "Can you imagine what kind of a life he must have had that he would do such a thing? I never did anything to insult him or to hurt him, and he almost took my life. He must have had a dreadful life." I was moved by that. He reminded me so much of those people in the gospel, where Jesus said about there were the people, he said to them, "I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. Naked you clothed me. In prison you visited me," and so on. And what did they say? They don't say, "Well, you taught us to do that. We know we're supposed to do it." They said, "When? When do we do that?" People who do these kind of things, like that young man in the hospital, when I asked him about it, he just said, I did it. I just did it. There's a wonderful poem by Gibran. You might know him as that Lebanese mystic who wrote The Prophet. Let me just close these few remarks with his words. They're so beautiful. This is what Gibran wrote. There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes the gift unwholesome. There are those who have little and give it all. These are the believers in life, in the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. There are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And then there are those who give and know not pain in giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in yonder valley the myrtle breathes its sweet fragrance into space. Through the hands of such as these, God speaks, and from behind their eyes, God smiles upon the earth. I hope you have a wonderful Advent and a most blessed Christmas. It's been wonderful to be with you.